young Pandavas grew under the loving care of King Pandu, Queen Kunti, and Queen Madri. The laughter of Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva filled the hermitage with happiness. Watching his sons learn from the sages, Pandu believed that destiny had finally blessed his family. Yet deep within his heart, he never forgot the terrible curse placed upon him by Sage Kindama. Every day he reminded himself that he must never allow desire to overcome wisdom. Unknown to the royal family, fate was slowly moving toward a heartbreaking moment that would forever change the destiny of the Pandavas. One beautiful spring morning, the Himalayan forest was filled with colorful flowers and the sweet songs of birds. Nature itself seemed alive with beauty. King Pandu and Queen Madri walked together through the peaceful woods, admiring the breathtaking surroundings. But as Pandu looked upon Madri's beauty, he suddenly forgot the warning of Sage Kindama. His mind became clouded by emotion, and despite every effort to control himself, he stepped toward her. In that very instant, the powerful curse spoken years before came into effect. King Pandu collapsed to the ground, and his life came to an end. The mountains echoed with Queen Madri's cries as the peaceful forest witnessed the tragic fall of a noble king. Queen Madri immediately rushed toward King Pandu, lifting his head into her lap as tears streamed down her face. She repeatedly called his name, hoping he would open his eyes once more. But the curse of Sage Kindama had come true, and the noble king had breathed his last. Hearing Madri's cries, Queen Kunti and the 5 young Pandavas came running from the hermitage. The children could not understand what had happened. Yudhishthira stood silently, Bhima looked around in confusion, Arjuna clung tightly to his mother's hand, while Nakula and Sahadeva cried beside their father. The peaceful Himalayan forest fell into complete silence as even the birds seemed to mourn the passing of the righteous King Pandu. Soon, the great sages living in the Himalayan forests gathered around the royal family. They comforted Queen Kunti and explained that destiny could never be changed. After performing sacred prayers, they prepared King Pandu's funeral according to ancient Vedic traditions. A magnificent funeral pyre was built using fragrant sandalwood. Sacred hymns echoed through the mountains as the flames slowly rose toward the sky. Queen Kunti stood with folded hands, tears flowing down her face, while the young Pandavas watched in silence, unable to understand why their beloved father would never return. The smoke carried the soul of the noble king toward the heavens. As the funeral rituals came to an end, Queen Madri approached Queen Kunti with folded hands. Filled with grief, she said that she could never forgive herself for the tragedy that had occurred. She believed that her presence had become the reason for King Pandu's final moments. With tears in her eyes, she requested Queen Kunti to raise Nakula and Sahadeva as her own sons. She knew that no mother could care for them with greater love than Kunti. After blessing her 2 children one final time, Madri made the heartbreaking decision to join her husband in death according to the customs described in the ancient epic. Queen Kunti tried to stop her, but Madri remained firm, entrusting all 5 Pandavas to Kunti's care forever. After completing the final rites, the sages gathered around Queen Kunti and spoke with compassion. They told her that the future of the 5 Pandavas now rested entirely in her hands. Gathering her strength despite her immense sorrow, Kunti promised that she would protect all 5 boys equally and raise them to become noble princes worthy of the Kuru dynasty. Soon afterward, the sages began the long journey back to Hastinapura with Queen Kunti and the 5 young Pandavas. As they walked away from the Himalayan forests, none of them knew that their return would mark the beginning of a lifelong rivalry with the Kauravas. A rivalry that would eventually lead to the greatest war in history, the Kurukshetra War. After many days of traveling through dense forests, flowing rivers, and towering mountains, Queen Kunti, the 5 young Pandavas, and the great sages finally reached the magnificent gates of Hastinapura. The royal guards immediately recognized the sages and hurried to inform the palace. News spread throughout the kingdom like wildfire. The beloved King Pandu was no more, and his family had returned after many years. Hearing the heartbreaking news, the entire city fell into mourning. Men, women, and children gathered along the royal roads with tears in their eyes. The people remembered Pandu as a brave and compassionate king who had always protected his kingdom with justice. As Queen Kunti entered the city with the 5 princes beside her, silence filled the streets. Even the sound of drums and royal trumpets disappeared, replaced only by sorrow. The people bowed their heads in respect, praying that the sons of Pandu would one day restore the glory of the Kuru dynasty. Inside the royal palace, the mighty Bhishma Pitamaha stood waiting with tears in his eyes. The great warrior, who had sacrificed his own happiness for the Kuru dynasty, walked forward and lovingly embraced the 5 young princes. Looking at them reminded him of King Pandu, and his heart filled with both pride and sorrow. Queen Kunti bowed before Bhishma, unable to hold back her tears any longer. Bhishma gently comforted her and promised that the children would always be protected under his care. Soon, the blind King Dhritarashtra, Queen Gandhari, and the wise Vidura also arrived. Dhritarashtra mourned the loss of his younger brother, while Vidura welcomed the Pandavas with great affection. Everyone in the palace understood that a new chapter in the history of the Kuru dynasty had begun. As the days passed, the 5 Pandavas slowly settled into life inside the royal palace. For the first time, they met their cousins, the 100 Kauravas. Among them stood Duryodhana, the eldest son of Dhritarashtra, proud and ambitious from a young age. Beside him were Dushasana and the other Kaurava brothers. At first, the children greeted each other politely and played together in the palace gardens. Yudhishthira treated everyone with kindness. Arjuna was eager to learn, while Bhima's incredible strength amazed everyone. During games, Bhima easily defeated the Kauravas in wrestling, running, and other competitions. Although everyone praised Bhima's strength, Duryodhana's heart slowly filled with jealousy. That jealousy would soon grow into hatred and change the future of the entire kingdom. Every day, the princes trained, studied, and played together under the watchful eyes of Bhishma and Vidura. The elders hoped that all the children would grow up united as one family. But destiny had different plans. Whenever Bhima playfully overpowered the Kauravas, Duryodhana felt humiliated before everyone. Instead of improving himself, he allowed envy to consume his heart. Watching the love and respect that the people showed toward the Pandavas, Duryodhana secretly made a dangerous decision. He vowed that one day he would remove the Pandavas from his path and become the sole ruler of Hastinapura. This silent promise marked the true beginning of the legendary rivalry that would